In Ukraine, there's a little-known group of intelligence officers known as Group 13, led by a figure nicknamed Callsign 13 within the country's Defense Intelligence Agency. Operating along Ukraine's southern coast, this unit specializes in using maritime drones. Despite their low profile, Group 13 has gained a formidable reputation for their actions, having successfully targeted and damaged several Russian warships. In a recent interview with CBC News, conducted at an undisclosed location, Callsign 13 concealed his identity with a mask and sunglasses. "I am protecting my country and I know that if I will not kill them, they will kill me," this man said. This development in Ukraine is viewed by top American and Canadian military leaders as potentially transformative for naval strategies. While some military historians see it as an evolution rather than a complete revolution, there's consensus on its potential to challenge traditional assumptions about naval dominance. Specifically, it questions the belief that larger naval powers can operate without consequence near smaller nations' coastlines. The rapid evolution of naval warfare, driven significantly by drone technology and artificial intelligence, is noteworthy. The deployment of remotely operated boats and submersibles, equipped with AI for coastline surveillance, is expected to expand, following precedents set by the US in the Middle East and potentially in North American waters soon. What has caught the attention of military strategists, defense planners, and leaders worldwide is Ukraine's remarkable use of drone boats and missile strikes to effectively force much of Russia's Black Sea fleet away from Crimea, dealing a significant blow to Moscow's presence in the region. According to Callsign 13, the driving force behind Ukraine's adoption of naval drone technology was not just strategic, but practical. Many of the targeted Russian warships pose direct threats, either capable of amphibious assaults or launching devastating cruise missiles on Ukrainian cities. Operating under Group 13, Ukrainian operators engage in a reverse game of cat and mouse on the high seas. They deploy small, remotely controlled speedboats called Magura V5S, each packed with over 200 kilograms of explosives. These agile crafts zip across the water at speeds exceeding 80 kilometers per hour, targeting frigates and landing ships many times their size. Describing the intense missions, Callsign 13, speaking to CBC News through an interpreter, expressed both relief and exhaustion after successfully hitting their targets. Operators spend hours focused on small control boxes, monitoring and responding swiftly to the dynamic naval environment. "You need to remember this, my target. It's moving and it is a ship in the open sea, so you need to react very quickly," said Callsign 13. According to Callsign 13, one of the unit's most challenging missions occurred on March 4, 2024, when they successfully sank the Russian patrol ship Sergei Kotov near Crimea's Kerch Strait. This modern warship, commissioned in May 2022 and previously damaged in September 2023, fell victim to Group 13's swarm of maritime drones. The dramatic attack was captured on video by Russian sailors aboard a nearby vessel, later shared online by Ukrainian authorities. The sinking of the Sergei Kotov marked a pivotal moment for Group 13. "We are now changing the rules of fighting in Ukraine," declared Callsign 13. "We show that having a large fleet is not equivalent to power. Ukraine, which does not actually have its own navy, has completely displaced the navy of the Russian Federation." The subsequent withdrawal of over 10 Russian ships from Sevastopol to Novorossiysk severely disrupted Moscow's operations in the Black Sea, making Group 13 prime targets for retaliation. The Russian Federation has a lot of missiles, rockets, and different types of weapons, and they even use them to hit small groups of people, like the Marine drone unit, noted Callsign 13. Despite the constant threat of retaliation, members of Group 13 take immense pride in their achievements. Knowing there's a Russian missile with their name on it only reinforces the impact they're making. "We are showing that the huge fleet of Russia is not an advantage and not that great." Earlier this year, Kyiv faced a setback when it had to take US Abrams tanks out of action due to frequent losses from drone attacks, as reported by the Associated Press in April. The Ukrainian capital had spent months lobbying Washington to acquire 31 of these tanks, each valued at approximately $10 million. Simultaneously, officials from the Department of Defense expressed frustration over the Navy's costly efforts to intercept Iranian-made drones launched by Houthi rebels into the Red Sea. Recently, the rebels even used a remote-controlled maritime drone to compel the crew of a Greek-owned vessel to abandon ship. In Pentagon circles, unmanned vehicles or drones are gaining notoriety as the poor man's cruise missile, inexpensive yet effective in neutralizing sophisticated military equipment. Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy, said, "Quantity now has a quality of its own, and our adversaries understand this." Now, some analysts draw parallels to early 20th century skepticism toward aircraft and tanks, dismissed then as mere accessories to traditional military might. Today, the dominance of drones compels the Pentagon to rethink its military strategies and invest in new technologies like directed energy weapons such as lasers. Stacy Pettyjohn, director of the defense program at the Center for a New American Security, also said, "There's really good and necessary experimentation happening." Meanwhile, the Pentagon faces critical evaluations of its long-standing reliance on advanced weaponry developed over decades. Analysts are questioning whether current measures are sufficient to counter the growing drone threat. Retired Lieutenant General David Barno, former commander of US forces in Afghanistan, has warned of the imminent impact of drone saturation on future battlefields, saying there is an urgent need for offensive drone capabilities and enhanced defenses. The use of low-cost drones in combat is not a recent phenomenon. The year's most daunting problem was an adaptive enemy who, for a time, enjoyed tactical superiority in the form of commercially available drones, stated General Raymond Thomas in 2017, while the United States was assisting Iraq in its fight against Islamic State ISIS forces gathered in Mosul in 2016. At around the same time, another four-star general from the United States, David Perkins, voiced his displeasure to an Army conference audience about an ally shooting down an inexpensive, mass-produced drone with a Patriot missile worth $3.4 million. "Now that worked, they got it," he said. "The problem is, if I'm the enemy, I'm thinking, hey, I'm just gonna get on eBay and buy as many of these $300 quadcopters as I can and expend all the Patriot missiles out there." It was really challenging to figure out how to actually defeat these small drones that were dropping bombs, admitted last month by then Army Undersecretary Gabe Camarillo, reflecting on the same era. Attacks by inexpensive, Iranian-developed explosive drones killed 3 US service members at a Jordanian outpost during a campaign against ISIS in January, causing the Pentagon to finally take notice. In order to allocate more resources toward unmanned aircraft, the Army announced the cancellation of a crewed scout helicopter the following month. This particular aircraft, the Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft, had previously been considered a top priority for the service. Instead of investing in the multi-billion-dollar helicopter, the funds are going toward creating smaller attack drones and improving counter-drone technology, turning the Middle East into a testing ground for new ideas. This encompasses directed energy weapons such as microwave blasts and lasers, the latter of which is around 150,000 times stronger than the eponymous home appliance. When fighting drones in the Middle East, the Army is conducting field tests of directed energy weapons, according to General Michael Eric Kurilla, head of US Central Command, who informed lawmakers in March. But he made it clear that he wants the same technology on American ships as the Houthi rebels in Yemen are increasing their drone attacks on Red Sea ships. "I would love to have the Navy produce more directed energy that can shoot down a drone, so I don't have to use an expensive missile," General Kurilla said. Instead of millions, the price tag for directed energy is, he noted, $1 or $2 a round. Pentagon officials launched the Replicator initiative in August in response to these criticisms. Their description of the program's intended outcome, which brings to mind the Starship Enterprise, is the creation of an army of tiny, cheap drones to serve as attritable autonomous systems, with the intention of limiting their reuse to a maximum of several instances. They go on to say that this will strengthen American defenses and encourage American startups to take on China, the current drone market leader. Even though drones have the potential to make future conflicts more high-tech and precise, they will most certainly still cause civilian casualties, extensive damage, and worsen humanitarian crises. The examples are growing in number and intensity of destruction. Damage to infrastructure, injuries, and fatalities have occurred as a consequence of falling debris from intercepting drones, in addition to the mounting number of civilian casualties in Ukraine caused by Russian missile and drone strikes. While recent indiscriminate drone strikes in Somalia have been characterized as amounting to war crimes, drone use in Ethiopia has contributed to a horrific civilian toll. Drones and AI-generated targets in Gaza have destroyed civilian buildings and homes, killing innocent people. These are the price tags for wars waged by machines. Drones that have more autonomy or even complete control will likely disprove these assumptions about drones' future. A concern is that, in reaction to rising demands for technological warfare, complete autonomy may emerge innocently through gradual changes. Given that electronic warfare (EW) tactics will progressively lose effectiveness, addressing drone countermeasures may drive the desire for greater system autonomy. Some may see the removal of human oversight or taking drones off the loop as a practical way to address these issues. Autonomous object recognition is just one more example of how technology is allowing drones without communication to finish last-stage tasks without human intervention. You can find these features on more expensive systems like Russia's Ovod or the United States Switchblade 300, as well as on less expensive ones like the Scalpel drone from Ukraine, which has lock-in target capabilities. Obviously, transitioning to fully autonomous drone warfare would entail removing humans from critical decision-making roles, which could have devastating consequences for innocent civilians. Drones and UAVs have become more important in contemporary warfare, as seen in the conflict in Ukraine. Going ahead, states should work to make sure that the promise of high-tech drone warfare doesn't obscure the real effects and capabilities of war. Also, governments should work on rules to limit the impact of uncontrolled drone warfare and prioritize preventing drones and other UAV systems from becoming too autonomous. How do you think these drones will change future wars? Let us know in the comments below.